And today we have a fun video. We're going to be testing out the new ColourPop The Child palette. Now this is in collaboration with Star Wars and the Mandalorian TV show. So this is the Baby Yoda palette, and as you can see, the outside unicarton is super duper cute. Now this palette retails for $16, so it is more than their typical 9-pan palette, which typically range between 12 and 14. So as you can see, that's what it looks like. I actually have a second to give away. We are going to be doing a giveaway on Instagram. So make sure you follow me on Instagram, which is the same thing as my YouTube channel, other than it's Betsy_Gocher instead of just Betsy Gocher. So this is what it looks like on the outside. The shade names are printed on the back, as well as on the back of the unicarton. Now this palette is cruelty free, and it does not give me a shelf life, but typically pressed powder shadows are a 12 to 24 month shelf life. So when you open it up, it looks like this. Now there is a mirror in here. You just got to see some of my stuff laying around. And on the mirror it says cutest in the galaxy with a little baby Yoda. And then there are 9 shades. So this is pretty much a green palette. There are 2 neutrals in here, but most of these are green shades. So I wanted to pull out my other green palettes by ColourPop to kind of compare. So first off, we have, this is the Aura and Out palette. So that's not a pressed glitter. So there's not really any similar shades in the Aura and Out. Let's look at the Meant to Be. Okay, so I do see some similarities in those two. So we've got the Be Minted and Babyface shade are similar, and the Chill Factor and Float Your Crib are a little similar. Not really much overlap in the way of shimmers. Okay, and then last but not least, we have the Just My Luck palette. And there are definitely some similarities there. So I would definitely say Babyface and Chances are similar. Mo Bamba looks, no, not similar. So, but as you can see, they're pretty much just green 9-pan palettes. So there, as I said, there are some similar shades. There is some overlap. If you own a lot of green shadows like I do, you probably don't need this palette. But if you're like me, I collect Disney items, and Star Wars Lucasfilms is owned by Disney now. So I had to pick this up. So we're gonna start off by swatching the palette just like we normally do. That feels really nice. So does that one. It's kind of chunky, but I think it'll be okay. Okay, we're gonna flip this over so I can see. So we've got Precious Cargo, which is a white with, see how it's got a gold shift, but it's almost, it's not really a white. It has more of like a clear base. Then we have Right Hand Mando. That is a pretty shimmer. Then we have Just Like a Tatooine, which is just a good neutral. It's almost the same color as my skin. Sipping Soup, so that's another green shimmer. Wipe my swatches off. Babyface. The Force, I love that color. That's more like a gold. Little Frog. Float Your Crib. So we've got The Force, or no, Babyface, The Force, I love that gold shade. Little Frog, because he eats frogs, I like that color. Float Your Crib. Okay, which Little Frog, if you look, is a sequin shade, so it's like one of the mattes that have glitter in it. So, but I would consider that more of a matte. So I would definitely consider that this has like more 5 mattes and 4 shimmers. And then last but not least is Droid Protocol. Okay. So I've already primed my eyes with the Gerard Clean Canvas Eye Base in medium, because this is, even though it's a green palette, it is much more of a neutral leaning green palette. So I definitely think that, you know, I don't need the fair base underneath it. But I do want to play with the greens in this palette. That's why I bought it, was for the greens. Well, that and Baby Yoda. You see my little Baby Yoda in the background? Isn't he the cutest? So we're gonna start off. This is a BK Beauty 201 brush. These I use all the time. I love BK Beauty brushes. I purchased them myself. I did purchase the new palette too coming out by them. So we'll see how that goes. So I think I'm gonna dip into the shade Babyface first as my transition. And this is going to be more of a simple, everyday green eye look. Now, whenever you swatched Babyface, I mean, it almost disappeared on my skin, but on my eye, it is doing much better. There we go. It's a pretty color. I love sagey greens like this. I like greens in general. I mean, if you look at my Instagram or anything like that, you'll definitely see that I like green shadows. It's one of my favorite colors to work with, especially right now when I have like my red hair. I feel like green, red. I'm Christmas elf right now. Yesterday we went grocery shopping and like I bought all kinds of like the Elf on the Shelf cereal. Did you know that they have Hershey Kisses sugar cookie? And I bought some of the peppermint ones. One of the ways that definitely makes me feel like Christmas time is when I do take and start getting Christmas food. So next up, I think I'm gonna use Little Frog. That picks up nicely. And we're going to apply that in the same area. There we go. See how that, yeah. That pulls it in that grungier color range, which I love grungy greens. I don't know how y'all are, but I love a good grungy green. And as you can see, when it's blended out, you really can't see that glitter in there anymore. And one of the reasons why I always use these e.l.f. eye tapes, if you're wondering, is because it gives me a sharp line, but it also kind of helps with bringing my eyelids up, you know, towards that, gives it that kind of pull, which helps since, you know, I don't have young eyes anymore. I mean, you can see when I'm brushing, I'm moving the skin around. That applied nicely. No patchiness. No patchiness. Okay, need another brush. Okay, so this is the BK Beauty 202. This is a great brush for hooded eyes because as you can see, it's still that same fluffy brush, but it's a little bit more pointed. So we're gonna go into the shade Float Your Crib, which is definitely that more olivey green. Oh yeah. See how much depth that adds? That is like my favorite kind of color right there. Grungy, olivey greens. And I'm going in lightly, but as you can see, I'm really getting it into my crease. So I'm giving some depth and I'm bringing it in, but I'm keeping it in that crease. Now, this is not an eyeshadow tutorial. I am not a makeup artist. I am a makeup enthusiast. And yes, I realize that I have more of a makeup collection than any one person needs. And some of you may or may not know, my daughter has recently started doing YouTube as well, but even before that, she uses my makeup. My sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, pretty much everybody in my family borrows makeup from me, or I give them makeup. So things don't go to waste. And anytime there's a special occasion, a lot of times I am asked to do makeup on people, just so you know. As I said, I'm not a makeup artist by any means, but I am not the worst at doing makeup. Or at least I don't feel like I am. This is looking really pretty and grungy, which is definitely what I wanted. Okay, so I think I'm gonna take a little bit of Droid Protocol, which is the brown, the non-fun color. And I'm just tapping that ever so slightly, just on the outside. I want some depth. Now, don't get me wrong, browns are not fun, but I still love working with brown eyeshadow. If you notice, my collection is a mixture of indie, drugstore. I love drugstore, love indie, love, you know, mid-range, high-end, luxury. I like a little bit of everything. I like playing with makeup, and I like testing makeup. Now, there are certain things I like messing with more. Definitely, I play a whole lot more with like high-end and independent and luxury more than anything else, but you know, I love indie makeup, especially indie eyeshadow. So we're gonna take our, this is the Too Faced glitter glue. I do this every single time I do an eye look. If I'm applying shimmers to my eyelid, this is how I do it. And I'm just kind of fanning that out towards the end because I want to play with some of these shimmers. Okay, so first up, I want to go into Sipping Soup and apply that towards the back end of my eye. That's a pretty color, but it is definitely not the sparkle. You know what I mean? Like, that is definitely not the color you're coming for if you're wanting shine. So I think what I'm gonna go into next, and there is a ton of fallout, just in case you're wondering, but it kind of just dust away, is Right Hand Mando. And I'm going to kind of go back over where I put Sipping Soup, because see how much, okay, look at that impact difference. Sipping Soup is a pretty color, don't get me wrong. It's just not the color I'm looking for this look. Okay, next I'm going to go into the Force. Picks up nicely on the brush. Now I will say, okay, now when you look at the Force next to Right Hand Mando, because they're on the same eyelid right here, there is not a whole lot of difference, is there? I don't know if you need both. One leans more gold. The Force definitely has a little bit more like gold undertone, but you definitely didn't need both eyeshadows in here. Which is kind of what I like to, you know, I like to look at eyeshadows and see what you need and what you don't. And I'll never tell you you need an eyeshadow palette, but I will tell you if I like an eyeshadow palette. So I'm gonna take my BK Beauty 201 brush, and I'm just going over all the edges to make sure everything's nice and soft. This is what I do every single time I do an eye look. Take my, there we go, 202, and just use that in the outer corner. I want to bring some depth back because it did take away quite a bit of the depth when I was using Sipping Soup. And blend, 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 blend. There we go. Okay. So there is the look with the top eyelashes or eye line done. So I'm gonna go off camera and do the rest of my face. Then we'll come back and do our lower lash line and talk about the palette. I'm back and I have the rest of my face on. I used the Charlotte Tilbury Glow Gasm face palette for bronzer, blush, and highlight. As you can see, I've used this quite a bit. Things are losing their impression. I really enjoy this and I think it looks really, really pretty on my skin. And and that is the deeper one, which is the Love Gasm. I don't know if it's still available. I think it was like a limited time thing, but I'm not sure. So, and I used the Gerard lip pencil in Underground, which is like a grayish brown. And I used my Gucci lipstick in the shade Susan Nude. So I love this color. It's like a beautiful cool tone brown nude. And I thought it did like a little bit extra with this. And then on my eyes, I did go ahead and tightline my waterline with the Black Flame Candle BFF Gel Cream Eyeliner from ColourPop. So let's go ahead and do our lower lash line. So I think what I want to go into first is Float Your Crib, because I'm really not wanting to mix any browns in here other than the one up top, just for the little bit of added depth. I really want to keep this a really good grungy green look. And I will say this, that this palette definitely pulls off the grungy green more so than the Just My Luck or the Meant to Be. Like, they both have a couple of colors that would be a little on the grungier side, but none of it is like super grungy. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into the shade Precious Cargo, which was like that duochrome. It's almost like a Super Shock shadow. And apply that in my inner corner. And yes, I am wearing false lashes. I know the false lashes that I wear probably aren't like the type that most people see or use. It's just, I haven't found a pair of like bigger lashes that look good on my eyes. Or at least that I feel look good. These are the Eyelure Accent number 5. I literally use these all the time. They are my favorite. Okay, so let's talk about this palette. I did use most of the colors. Hold on, let me put some lower lash line mascara before I forget. And this is just the Mile High Club by Wander Beauty. Okay, so let's talk about this palette. What do you think? Okay, so I used all of the shades except for just like a Tatooine. So I used everything else, and I think that it is a gorgeous palette. I think it performed beautifully. I mean, you can see with the look that's on my face that the eyes look stunning. So I would definitely recommend this palette if you're interested in purchasing it, and you can get it. I mean, $16, to me, that's not a terrible price to pay. Again, you really don't need any eyeshadow palette, but if you're interested in it, I say it's a good eyeshadow palette. I love the way that it performed. I love the colors that it is on my eyes. So, if you're interested in winning one of these from me, go follow me on Instagram. Make sure to tag 3 of your friends and like the post, and that's all you gotta do. I'm gonna be doing a drawing on from 2 weeks from today, which today is the 16th, so that would be December something. I have no idea. I'm not looking at the calendar, but I guess that's it. So we'll see y'all later. Bye.